Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz, your host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, we're going to do a breakdown of the Netflix series show Receiver, featuring Davante Adams, and everything that we talk about today is only around Tay and everything that ended up going down on Episode 6. I'm going to do a live breakdown of Episode 7 on Monday, and then I'll do Episode 8 on Tuesday to finish out the series. If you don't already know, today's show is presented by Panda Supps, the protein that I use every single day after a workout, especially at nighttime when I'm getting those late night cravings for the sweets. I use Panda Supps, and I want you guys to too as well. Use code Raiders for 25% off at pandasupps.com. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. So Episode 6 gets going with the Davante Adams part somewhere around 31 minutes and 13 seconds. I'll be real, I had to watch this on my phone, so it was a little bit harder for me to track exactly where it was, but it's pretty damn close to that. Him and his wife, and I love the way that it starts with, a lot of times it starts with the family, and they're just sitting there, they're playing with their daughters. It almost looks like they're at some sort of gymnasium of some sort, doing different events, but it was really, really cool to see the way that Davante and his wife interact with their kids. And, I don't got kids yet, at least not that I know of, but being able to sit down there and play with Chuck, it gave me some good parent vibes. Tay at 5-8. So at this point in the season, the Raiders are 5-8. They just had a heartbreaking loss to the Minnesota Vikings, and that he said that their goal was to make the playoffs. So you're sitting there at 5-8. You're like, man, we got to win out for us to even have a shot to make the playoffs. But you know what? This team to me is so much different this season, and I do honestly think that they have a legitimate shot to make the playoffs. And it's not going to be easy. You're in the AFC. You're in the AFC West. You got to get to 10 games at least to give yourself a chance. But Vegas has us at 6.5 wins. Now, recently I've seen that jump up to 7.5, so it's somewhere in between there. But to me, you got Antonio Pierce. You got a team that nobody believes in, and I love that. Baltimore material. I believe in the silver and black. If you do too, hit that subscribe button. So then we're looking at right now the Chargers game. And the Chargers game, man, that one brought me a big smile just because we obviously knew how it went. But Adams revealed that he had the flu for the game, which I kind of remember once he brought it up. When I hopped back into my mental time machine, I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that he was sick. He said that he lost 6 pounds in 3 days. So remember, the Raiders lost 3-0 to the Vikings on Sunday. Thursday Night Football Chargers was that game. So he lost 6 pounds in that amount of time, and I don't know if he even has 6 pounds to lose. Adams then was, making a joke to Tony Gonzalez, had the opportunity to talk to him before the football game, and was saying hey, man, I'm about to have my Jordan game, about to have my MJ game. And was really talking about the flu game, which, knowing how the game went, it was a little bit of foreshadowing of Davante had himself a hell of a football game. But the Raiders, man, they had themselves an absolute flu game. It was really, really cool to see. One of my favorite notes that I saw was Davante said that, Michael Jordan is his GOAT, and he's the second most competitive person only behind him. Which, I think for a lot of athletes out there, they'll sit up there and go hey, nobody is going to outwork me. Nobody's going to be more competitive than me. Nobody's going to go out there and just do what he does. And for Davante to say, you know what, I'm willing to say that I'm the second most competitive person in the world behind MJ, I thought was cool. But he also was talking about it because, again, the flu game. If you don't know the flu game, Michael in the playoffs, I forget what year it was exactly, played in 44 minutes, 38 points, 7 boards, and 5 assists, which helped the Chicago Bulls win that game. Davante Adams in his flu game, Week 15 against the Chargers, 12 targets, 8 grabs, 101 yards, and a touchdown. And this was a very lopsided football game. There's no doubt about it. The Silver and Black ended up getting a win, 63-21. It's their biggest win ever over the Los Angeles Chargers, and it's a game that I'll never forget. So, again, the Raiders were up, man, 35-0 at halftime. Tay goes, he looks at a teammate, and I forget which teammate it is, and he goes, are you trying to put up 70? And there's always, that part in the back of your mind, probably as an NFL player, for a lot of guys, you're like, shit, I'm going to try to do something that I've never done before. Not many NFL players can say that they've put up 70 points. Then, next thing that ends up showing is Davante Adams, and it just shows a touchdown by Adams and the fact that the Raiders dropped 63 on Los Angeles. And this was a ball game from the jump. You're like, this is going to be a different game. And it was cool to see the route that Adams ran. It was cool to see him end up scoring even, a little bit later on. The way that Netflix did it, I think they could have done a better job of showcasing a little bit more of the craziness in that game. But when you see some of the executive producers, maybe it doesn't surprise me all that much. Coming up next here, find out what Antonio Pierce said about Davante Adams. And the reason why that I think this is important is because when you look at the quote that AP says, and then you compare it to everything that's been going on recently with Davante Adams, all his trade rumors, it's something that I think you guys need to see. I'll tell you what that is in just a moment, but I got to give a shout out again to our awesome sponsor here at Panda Sups. Get your hands on their protein. My favorite protein on the market right now that they sell is the mint chocolate chip, which you can see right here. I also have the strawberries and cream, which got real freeze-dried strawberries in it. The mint chocolate chip's got real mint chocolate chip cookies in it. It's such a good protein that you're not even going to believe that it's actually healthy for you. If you want to know my top proteins out there on the market, it is these right here. So I got mint chocolate chip, strawberries and cream, cookies and cream, fruity cereal, my favorite 4 right now from Panda. My other ones, though, like chocolate ice cream is amazing, especially if you have a Ninja Creamy. The pineapple whip is super refreshing. The cinnamon toast cereal, it's got real pieces of cinnamon toast cereal in it. And then the vanilla ice cream is actually Chugs' favorite, or one of his favorites, just because of all the other things that you can mix with it. I'm more of a chocolate fan. I like some of the flavors a little bit more because I drink probably just the plain, simple protein shakes where he uses a little bit more of the Ninja Creamy and stuff like that. So again, if you want a chance to get any of this, go to pandasups.com, code Raiders, 25% off. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments and in the description of today's show. So we're going to keep it rolling here on our Netflix receiver review. AP said that he could have easily, that like Davante could have easily backed out on him. And when you think about the show, when you think about the Raiders season, how bad it was going, they bring in a brand new interim head coach. And it's one of the reasons why I love AP, because he thinks like a normal, rational human being. You got a star player like Davante that knows he's going to get his bag, that knows he's one of the best in the biz. There's some players that are like, I don't want to be a part of this shit show. I don't want to be a part of this, and they're going to want out. But AP literally said, he's like, Davante could have tapped out on him, but he didn't. And Pierce said that after Tay's flu game, he earned a whole new level of respect for him because, again, it's like a situation where AP's trying to earn a job, right? Like Antonio Pierce trying to show Mark Davis why he deserves to be the actual head coach of the team. And if you're going to play like Davante, and the fact that he's going out there doing his thing at a moment where the Raiders are 5-8, a moment where he's dealing with the flu and he goes out there and does that, that speaks volumes of all those other players underneath you, and that earned major brownie points for AP. Then the series skips the Christmas game and goes to Week 17 against the Colts. Skips the Dolphins game, skips the Chiefs game, and I was pissed. And the reason why that I was pissed about it is because, yes, Davante didn't have a good game. He had 6 targets, 1 catch for 4 yards. But I had somebody send me a super chat the other day, and they were like, Mitch, why didn't they show the Christmas game? I think this is the reason. When you look at the credits and you see the executive producers of the show Receiver, one of the executive producers is Patrick Mahomes. So I do find it strange in a season where you show Davante Adams, you don't show anything Chiefs related. They didn't show when the Raiders lost to the Chiefs. They didn't show when the Raiders beat the Chiefs on Christmas. As a Raider fan, the biggest game of last season, and you guys can disagree with me on this if you want. What was a more important game to you? What was a game that fired up more? Was it a game right after? Was it the Giants game where they won 30-6 right after McDaniels? Was it the game where the Raiders ended up, taking care of business, getting a big dub over the Chargers 63-21? Or was it the game that they beat the Kansas City Chiefs on Christmas? That was the biggest game of the year, and they totally skipped out on it. Why? Because I think Patrick Mahomes didn't want him to show it. Can I get an FKC down below in the comments? I mean, it was Bush League. I think it's kind of sad. I can't even believe that it happened. Really, really sad, man. So then the series jumps to the Raiders are down 14-3 against the Indianapolis Colts, and Davante Adams scores a touchdown, makes it 14-10. Then it jumps the series a little bit further, and they're down 23-13, and there's less than a minute to go. I will continuously say time and time again, me rewatching Netflix kind of showed me, again, how bad the Raiders' offense was last season. And I know a lot of people point at Aiden O'Connell's stats, but this is one of those games where, Aiden, the Raiders' offense, I'm not saying it was all on Aiden, obviously, but the Raiders' offense struggled against Indy. A lot of garbage points, a lot of garbage yards at the end of that fourth quarter there. Then AOC just throws one up for Davante, and he comes down with it for a touchdown. Makes it a little bit more of an interesting game. Unfortunately, though, the Raiders do lose this one, 23-20. But it was AOC starting to build that relationship, starting to build that rapport with Tay. And you saw that as the season continuously went on. When the Raiders lost this game, they knew that the season was over, right? You lose this game, it's done. No chance anymore to make the playoffs. And even though he had a monster day, it was just they just dug themselves too much of a hole on offense. And you can't always ask your star players to be able to bring you out of it, right? 21 targets, 13 grabs, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. It was a phenomenal game. And when you go back and you look at that football game, when you go back and look at that final month of the season and Davante kind of getting it going a little bit more, I do think that that's one of the reasons why AOC is the QB1 in Davante Adams' mind when he goes on Club Shay Shay, when he just talks to the media in general. Then the series jumps to Week 18 against the Broncos. And I'm not going to lie, I'm very curious to see how this season ends just because we already finished up Week 18. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that we already finished up Week 18 on the series receiver and there's 2 episodes to go, don't know exactly what I'm going to be talking about on Week 7 and Week 8. But the playoffs hopes are done. Raiders wanted to be able to finish the season strong. And anytime you're going up against, your division rival in the Denver Broncos, you want to keep that streak alive. The Raiders at this point have beaten the Broncos 7 straight times. The last time Denver beat them was 2019, December 29th, back in Oakland. But one of the parts that I thought was very interesting to me now knowing the situation that the Raiders are in was Mitch Singler and Adams. They were talking, and throughout the episode, you could see that, and this isn't the first time Singler and Adams have been together, but like they were saying like how much respect, like that they got for each other and how that they helped each other get through the season. I find that interesting because the Raiders wiped clean their entire offensive staff. When I say entire, they wiped clean 90% of their offensive staff. Guess who was one guy that they kept? Mitch Singler. So I almost wonder if like one of these little things, which maybe it's true, maybe it's not, Davante goes, hey, Mitch is my guy. That's somebody I want to keep around. Then Adams, Broncos, he beats Patrick Surtain in the first clip, and I love it because I think Davante is the best in the biz. I think Patrick Surtain's one of the best in the biz. So to see them be able to go up against each other was really fun. Well, on that second catch, I think it shows in the Netflix series, he surpasses 100 catches in 2024, and he's only the 4th receiver ever in NFL history to do it. In fact, the other 4 are Antonio Brown did it 6 straight times, where he surpassed 4,000 straight yards. I also realized that this says 4K yard season. It's a 1,000-yard season. Stephon Diggs did it 4 times. Marvin Harrison did it 4 times. And Davante Adams did. So my question is, is Davante Adams about to be the 2nd receiver in NFL history to surpass 1,000 yards in 5 straight seasons? Only AB has done it. FAB's down below. You already know. So AB, Stephon Diggs, Marvin Harrison, Davante Adams. He joined some elite company there. Before I continue to break down everything else around receiver, I do want to tell the nation for the first time that you guys are going to have an opportunity to hang out with Jeremy Chugs and I Week 1. We're doing a watch party in North Carolina for Raiders Chargers. It's 100% free to attend. All you got to do is go to chatsports.com/week1. So if you're on the East Coast and you're like, Mitch, I got nothing going on for Week 1, chatsports.com/week1. We're going to be giving away prizes and I don't. This is a prize that they've given away before. Signed Bo Jackson stuff. We've given away signed Josh Jacobs stuff before. It's going to be at the restaurant Back Then Bar and Grill. Space is limited, so I'd be really appreciative if you guys already just put in an event spot, like get your tickets ahead of time. My mom and my dad might be able to show up as well. If you've ever been to a Raiders Report watch party, that's what you're going to get here and it's going to be even crazier than what we've done in the past. Then, if you also want an opportunity to hang out with Jeremy and I the Saturday before the game, because we'll be there Saturday, Sunday, so September 7th, September 8th. We're going to give away 20 raffle spots here, and you guys are going to be able to play Top Golf with Chugs and I. From what I understand, it is going to be a lot of golf, which I suck at golf, but hopefully you guys can beat me. You're going to be able to meet some super fans. Also, there's going to be a lot of food, a lot of drinks available. Appetizers will be provided. So if you want an opportunity to play a little Top Golf or honestly just hang out with Chugs and I on Saturday night, go to chatsports.com/topgolf. You can buy 1 ticket for $20 or you can buy 10 tickets for $100. Whoever wins that raffle, to the 20 people we'll give away spots to, you'll be able to hang out with Jeremy and I. Again, chatsports.com/week1 for the watch party. If you want to do Top Golf, it's chatsports.com/topgolf. All right, we're going to keep it rolling here on the show. Adams scores a touchdown as he was getting held up against the Denver Broncos, able to punch one in, and this is where he really starts, kind of getting it rolling from a whole season standpoint. Unfortunately, it just happened a little bit later. The Raiders got a win 27-14, which means that they extended their win streak 8 straight games against the Denver Broncos. Massive, massive, monumental win. Then he goes into the locker room, and he's chanting AP, 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 and you can see how happy Davante is because he knows how big of a win that is for Antonio Pierce in terms of him coming back the following season. Then Adams says that he's got a whole new respect for winning since joining the Raiders, which I don't want people to look at this as like a shot to the gut. It's an honest thing. He won a lot of football games in college, won a lot of football games with the Green Bay Packers, and since it's been with the Raiders, definitely hasn't gone the way that he's gone. So, he was saying like the reason why he's smoking stogies and that the reason why they're celebrating the way that they're celebrating is because it's not easy to win in the National Football League. Then he just talked about, everything that he's been through the past 2 years, which I think it can cultivate a, changing where you work, right? You go from the Packers now to the Raiders, dealing with Josh McDaniels, dealing with Derek Carr, a lot of emotions all packed up into this. And then he, when we're finishing up the show, Tay looks at Aiden O'Connell and he goes, "Proud of you, bro. You did your thing." And for Davante to show the love that he's shown to Aiden this offseason and then to see the love that he's shown him in that Netflix series, there's no doubt in my mind that Davante looks at Aiden as the number one quarterback of this football team. AP says, "You know what I want to do." And they're all lined up in the locker room. They're all happy after a big win over the Broncos. And then he just screams, "Raiders! Give me a Raiders down below." But Antonio Pierce does that kind of stuff because he knows it's going to fire up his team. It's going to fire up the fan base. Josh McDaniels could never have done that. Adams said with the version of the team that we had a good season. And I want Raider fans to remember that. That's kind of why at times I laugh when I see Vegas odds at 6.5 wins. The Raiders with Antonio Pierce, a team that Josh McDaniels built, going up against tough opponents. They weren't slouch opponents by any means. The Raiders went 5-4 on the season with bad quarterback play. Aiden didn't play great those final 9 games. There were games where he showed glimpses of good, showed glimpses of bad, but he was a rookie. If he's able to take that next step with the team that they have, they're going to be a lot better than what people give him credit for. Adams then said, everything that AP says that he believes in on the show. And when he said this part, and I want people to go watch this part because I feel it. And I feel it and I believe in it in my heart that Davante believes in what AP says because when AP talks, I want to run through a brick wall. And maybe it's because I had to listen to Josh McDaniels talk for 2 straight years and everything that guy said, I just didn't believe anything. So it almost felt like it was like a breath of fresh air for the Raiders, for Davante to finally be like, man, we got a coach that when he says something, we actually can get behind it, we believe it. Tay was excited to be able to spend more time with his kids after the season, where he was like, I get to be the dad that I want to be. And it's not saying that he's not the dad that he wants to be all the time. It's just, just like anybody. I'm very busy during football season. I'm sure a lot of y'all have your busy times as well, where when that busy time is going on, you got to pay attention to your job. Obviously, you're always going to pay attention to your kids. But for Davante, when that offseason happens, it's almost like summer vacation. You get to be full-time dad. He was super excited about it. And then I finished this thought process with, I don't know what episode in 7 or 8 are going to bring, because in episode 6, the season's over for the Raiders. I'm hoping that it's more of Antonio Pierce stuff. I'm hoping it's more Dave Ziegler stuff. I'm hoping it's just more of that. I got a gut feeling, though, it's going to be a lot of 49ers, Super Bowl, and a lot of that BS. If I don't get any more updates on the show, though, hey, we'll keep you guys up to date on the Raiders Report. So let me know down below. I want you to grade episode 6 of Receiver featuring Davante Adams. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F. For me, on this episode, and some of y'all might get mad at me for saying this, I'm going to give it a D. It's not an F. It's not an F grade. But the reason why I'm giving it a D is because how can you, again, do a show called Receiver and not have the biggest game in? I think it's because Patrick Mahomes. I think it's because the Christmas game wasn't shown. I get it. Davante didn't have a good game there. But I wanted to see Davante react and celebrate with his team after getting the biggest win of the season. It was a great episode. There was some good stuff with the Broncos game. I loved how it ended. There was some, good stuff as well early on. But not showing the Chiefs game was kind of lame to me. So for that reason, I am going to give it a D grade.